which time you will be asked to complete your comments.
For efficiency and order, public comment will be heard from the individuals in the meeting room prior to those participating by electronic means. If you are participating online, you may provide for efficiency of typing your comments in the Q&A or by using the raise hand feature. If you are participating by telephone, you may raise your hand by pressing *9 and mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6.
If you pose a question during public comment, it will be recorded as part of the official record, but the main function of the commission is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of the commission to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Addressing your questions or comments directly to staff is not allowed. A member of the commission may choose to ask additional questions of the public or staff during public comment to clarify statements. Please print your full name on the speaker's list to ensure accuracy of the public record. The speaker should begin by clearly stating your full name prior to providing their comment.
All public comments and questions posed during the meeting will go on the permanent record. We thank you for engaging in this forum and appreciate your patience and cooperation to allow all who are participating online and in person an equal opportunity. If you would like to submit a formal statement, you may utilize the general public comment form, which can be found on the City Commission page of the city's website. Be advised, any comments submitted to the City of Helena public engagement pages and media are public records and subject to disclosure pursuant to Montana Code Annotated 2-6-1003. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the meeting.
Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Helena City Commission Administrative Meeting, December 3rd, 2025. The time is 4 p.m. and this meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, would you give the roll, please?
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Dean. Here. Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner Reed. Here. Commissioner Shirtliff.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Communications from Helena Citizens Council.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Ben Kuiper. I'm the chair of the Helena Citizens Council. So we're preparing to be a stakeholder group in the upcoming city manager town halls. The members of the HCC have been told to identify their top priorities, and we're going to compile those and identify the top ones for the HCC as a whole, and then submit those to CMS so that they can be brought forward during those town halls. The plan right now is to use the rating criteria sheets during those town halls and give those each to the HCC members who are participating and get their top candidates, file those, and then identify who the top candidate is as a whole. You all know. So that's planned right now.
What is the question for Mr. Franklin? Thanks. To the manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. With your permission, I've got 3 brief updates from the department head, starting with Director Danielson on a request for information from the Department of Revenue. And in fact, the city has once again been awarded the GFIA award for
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. So on the first topic, I had briefed the commission a while back when we had received our certified values from the Department of Revenue. and I questioned the newly taxable property. And so I had some communication back and forth with the Department of Revenue, and then put in a public records request for a detail of the city's property as far as categories and assessed values and taxable values. And after several months of, going back and forth, requesting, pending, waiting to get the information, they finally submitted a response to my request, which was just a small table of information, and indicated that anything more than that would be considered a mailing list, and they don't release that information. And so that was my final response from the Department of Revenue. So I don't know that it provides some information, but it's definitely not something that we're going to be able to analyze for future forecasting. So there is a webinar coming up on understanding property data that is sponsored, and so I did attend that. I think that's next week, and so perhaps we'll get more information from that webinar on how local governments in Montana can help forecast better their property tax revenue going forward in their newly assessed properties. And then so that was bad news, but I have good news. We did recently receive the Government Finance Officers Association certificate in financial reporting award. This is that for fiscal year 2024. This would have been the 37th consecutive award from that association. So I consider it, kind of sometimes finance doesn't get an end product to say, hey, I spent all my time doing this and did a great job, like a road or a piece, structure. So this is to finance what, a big project like the fire tower is to park. So we're pretty happy to receive that award. Thank you. That's all I'm voting.
Mayor, Director Brink is going to brief the commission on the registration program that he put together for extreme cold weather. Yeah.
That's a one quick question. Sorry, Cindy. First, congratulations. I know it's very exciting that your department continues to really excel. On the newly taxable property public records request, I'm wondering if it might be helpful if we start thinking about what changes in legislation could look like to require DOR to give us better data. So maybe something for us to be thinking about over the next month or so as the league is, getting the other pieces ready about what legislation we're going to try to push for. But I think that's something, we are a governmental entity, and that just seems a little bit silly that we can't see our own data. So that might something for us to maybe be thinking about over the next month is what that kind of language could look like.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Dean. So City Manager Burton and I also talked to City Attorney Doctor about this and reaching out to the league. I know that a few other of the finance directors in Montana had indicated they had put in a public records request and got a similar response. So I know that they're in the same situation as the City of Helena as far as wanting more detail.
Great.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. So I've provided you a little snippet of what we've been working on for the past month or so, maybe less than a month. So at the last joint city-county admin meeting where Dr. Busher presented the HEPS program, which is the Helena Emergency Shelter Activation Plan or whatnot. That's in collaboration with COAD. Took to heart some of the comments. As I was sitting in that meeting, I thought about how the city can participate in this collaboration effort that United Way is spearheading. And before I even went back upstairs, I had a plan in place on paper of what I envisioned to do. Now, historically, the City of Helena has always allowed and provided services to nonprofits or faith-based community relative to doing life safety inspections and quick building code reviews and inspections of sites and facilities and spaces. Make sure they're safe, fire code compliant prior to extreme weather coming on for the City of Helena. I want to formalize that and put it actual in a program that's voluntary. So what we're going to do, we're going to take what we do already as voluntary and just put it in a more structured registration program. And it's really just so we can have an accounting and predictability of where these are, how many they can accommodate, and who the contacts are for these facilities. That way, when November 1st or whatever the trigger is with the housing or the emergency shelter plan that United Way has spearheaded, whatever that key is or that metric is for triggering that activation, we'll be ready to have an idea of where these already are. They're already inspected. We've gone through that exercise, and hopefully it will become easy for us. Organizational facility or faith-based community wants to provide this shelter on an emergency basis, that they've already been vetted, and all we have to do is say, yep, we're good. And we can keep an accounting method too, so we know where all these are. And we won't have to do this every year. It's almost a one and done. You come and get registered, and you don't have to do this next year. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We've already built into our permitting system a way for these organizations to start that application process. We're still training, we're still testing it now. It's still in concept, but we're not recreating the wheel. This is a model that's used across the country, particularly in the Northwest. So it's nothing new, but it's new for us just to formalize what we already do informally with our faith-based community. So that's it in a nutshell. I know you guys speak quick. So.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Brick, I could not be happier to see this. This is fantastic. I'm really glad to see us being proactive. One quick question, which possibly doesn't have an immediate answer. I know one of the barriers that's been faced by many potential shelters is fire code suppression, et cetera. Based on what you saw from other places around the Northwest and elsewhere, are there opportunities for very short-term waivers, exceptions, things like that, in addition to a full certification, everything's up to code, et cetera, or have you not quite gotten there yet?
So we're not quite there yet. And I wish Fire Marshal was here to answer that in more detail. But one way to do that is the opportunity to use a fire watch or a watch command or a fire watch on the site. No, we've not really thought through waiver programs, but we have thought more long range that we want this program to, at some point, it's voluntary, but perhaps if organizations or facilities want to participate, then perhaps in the future, that there's a small funding mechanism that we can provide to these facilities to actually update your smoke detectors or CO2 detectors to help them get registered through this program. So we're hoping there's opportunities moving forward that we can provide additional systems. We know this is not it's just a stopgap. It's not the solution. But right now, I think this is the best opportunity for the city to participate short of actively building a facility and then operating a facility, which comes with its own laundry list of challenges, right? So we're hoping that these, not really micro shelters, but stopgap shelters that we can help facilitate at least a good sound program to make sure they're safe for those that need them.
Genuinely appreciate the.
And to start the break.
Thank you for this, and really grateful that you jumped on it as soon as that meeting was I guess not concluded.
You're probably sitting there writing notes as Jeff was talking.
Yeah. I guess I know United Way is actively working with all of the fifth grade based groups right now and churches. Are they ready to start signing people up, or do you have an idea?
So Mayor and Commission, the next day, or maybe it was a couple of days later, we actually met with Dr. Busher and Emily from United Way and told them, here's what we're getting ready to do. And actually, really to back up, the day after I assembled myself, Kim Mack, the building official, one of the plan reviewers, and Shep, our housing coordinator, and then Lou, and that's where I kind of rolled out what I wanted to accomplish. And then the next day we turned around and met with Jeff. So we did this pretty quick. So Jeff and his team, they know what we're getting ready to do. Are we ready to register these programs? Give me to the end of the week. We'll have a system in place where they can actually do that. We'll offer that.
Please continue.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Kanopke would like to update the commission on the South Helena interchange and the racetrack.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As you know, we kind of were put on hold due to a court case for the build / raise funding. Got an email this afternoon with new agreement, so I'm taking that as the cue as we're back on track. There was a couple changes that we need to make. We made some of those. We're working on those. Our hope is to get that turned around and sent back to FHWA tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, so that we can get that going as fast as we can.
Comments or questions for Director Kanopke? Thank you. Commission comments? Department report. Helena Affordable Housing Trust Fund Update Committee. Director Brink, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. So this is me listening to conversations that are had in this room. So at a admin meeting probably a month and a half ago, there was some desire to start looking at our affordable housing trust fund guidelines. So we had already been doing that as a staff. So we took a lessons learned approach from the Twig Ridge project and looked at how we can better stabilize a foundation that trust fund and make sure that the fund itself is sustainable and ready to be used for the next project or next projects. Knowing that you have a set policies relative to the enabling resolution that established funds. There's already some set policy for the fund. We didn't want to go fights with that. So that wasn't our charge internally. So all we've been doing is looking at how to make sure the fund remains sustainable for what it was originally charged to do. So we have not at this point looked at policy changes within the document. We've not looked at how to expand the fund to other housing solutions or uses. We've heard discussions about proposed uses of those funds. That's fine. We want to have those discussions within the industry. But we're bound by what the policy is with the establishment resolution. So we didn't stray from that. We have some ideas of how we can use the fund and still stay true to that adopting resolution. But we've also heard, and just be blunt, heard some potential uses that maybe is not suited for the trust fund as created, but there's other opportunities, there's other mechanisms to fund some other things that maybe we can point to. In particular, there's some programs by NeighborWorks that would be aptly suitable for some expansion of our housing choices in the city that maybe we point to as a department and not maybe incorporate that in the trust fund. But we're open to here in the foreseeable future to start having discussions about maybe expanding the fund. We're about 95% ready to get to you our actual draft of the bones of the guidelines. But again, like I said, we didn't look at it with eyes of changing policy or how the fund's used. Just making sure that the fund remains stable and sustainable. That, at the end of the day, that's what a trust fund is. The kid is to have it be used in perpetuity, right? So we want to make sure that one project or two projects just wouldn't blitz the fund and not be available for the next 18 or 20 years when you start realizing some return on that fund loan. So.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Director Brinkley. I look forward to seeing what comes forward, and I do think it would be interesting when that process is done to have a discussion about some of, what we've all been recently hearing about potential unmet community needs. And I know the issue of ADUs in particular has come up time and time again, and the current guidelines do not appear to allow for that type of financing. So to look at what opportunities there might be, is there an interest? Does it make sense, et cetera? I think it sounds like spring is a good time to do that. So I appreciate where we are in the process, and looking at, I know we had several cycles where nobody applied for the trust fund, and knowing where we are in our community with housing, that suggests that maybe there should be a conversation. So I look forward to what's coming, and I look forward to future discussions about possibly what could be done to match what we have with what the need is.
So.
Yeah, please.
Couple questions. So when was the fund created? Was that 21 or 22?
Mayor and Commissioner,
21.
I think the fund was, it might have been even earlier than that. It might have been actually 20. It might have been 21. You might be actually correct. It might be 21.
Couple questions. So has any legislation at the state level impacted fund dispersion?
Mayor and Commissioner, there's no applicable state statute that would impact it good or bad or benefit the fund. No.
And then maybe the last for Director Danielson, primarily funding has come from.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. The large influx of funding that went into that was from CARES Act, general fund savings, and then also some general fund savings that were realized from ARPA funds. Since those large influxes, the only other funding has been the $100,000 transfer every year into the fund from the general fund.
And how much remains?
If you give me 1 second, I can look at that.
And you don't,
Yeah.
maybe at a later time.
There, I'm sure that it just off the top of my head, I want to say about 1.5, if not more.
Mayor Commissioner, it may be just north of $1 million.
Okay.
I guess is not fine.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future. I'm sure we can.
And Mayor Commissioner, to my point, relative to make it sustainable, one more project could potentially eliminate the fund. So we will make sure that that's usable for other projects.
Mr. Logan, you there?
Thank you.
And I think when we bring back the new draft and the update, maybe if we can include like the terms for, because I think with the first part of the Twin Creeks was like a 3-year, 4-year repayment. 4, 3. So if we maybe just kind of a timetable of what it looks like when those, as those repayments happen.
Repealing the penalty portion of ordinances to remove the default criminal penalty for violating sections of the city code. Place it with the civil penalty outlined in state law and thereby create a municipal infraction enforcement regime. Attorney Doctor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners.
how you like the long title. It was clear at least, right? This is a presentation about the potential for repealing the criminal provisions that are currently default in the city code. It applies to any violation of city code, and it would now be replaced with a civil penalty, except for a few of the existing code provisions. I'm going to ask Matt Peterson to do the presentation. He's been working on it hard, and I didn't want to take the glory away from him. So if you, with your permission, Matt Peterson.
Sure. So, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, currently Billings, Bozeman, and Missoula have all adopted municipal infraction regimes. So any sort of, for example, if someone didn't comply with a city ordinance on removing snow from their sidewalk, currently, without a specific penalty attached to that ordinance section, the default penalty fills in, and that default penalty is a $500 fine and up to 6 months in jail. And so the municipal infractions penalty would be a $300 fine up to $300 for a first offense and up to $500 for a second offense and no jail time. So we felt that in talking with all the department heads and staff, that this kind of penalty and the enforcement mechanism would be better suited for these kinds of things. So it would create that penalty, and then it would also authorize the city manager to designate city employees in addition to law enforcement officers who can already enforce these things as code enforcement officers. And that would then also lead to departments coming up with, enforcement prioritization that would then go through the city manager for your guys' review. The things in city code where we maintain a criminal penalty are things like throwing a party where there's underage drinking, dumping hazardous toxic waste in the stormwater system, things like removing guide stones, which are used for surveying. So there would be a limited number of things where we'd maintain the potential for criminal, require police enforcement of that. And then the rest of the code would go to more of a civil focused enforcement regime.
That's a quick question. What happens if I receive this infraction and I don't pay?
Sure. So there is a currently in the code, and this could possibly need to be supplemented in the future. If you do not pay your fines after they've been ordered by the court, you can be taken to jail. So that has not been changed.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate this. I am the ADA commission person. I was there, but I did reach out to the chair, who I think he may be on that IGC, but he was very appreciative of this effort. I know there's been a lot of hope from the ADA committee and community in seeing this actually come before us. And so I very much appreciate how much time and effort went into it. I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be able to better address some of the code enforcement violations that we see that impact that community. So thank you for the tracking.
Any others? Are you done?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson, Attorney Peterson. Okay, 2025 revenue report for city operation, Uni's, Fort Grill, El Dorado, Golf Course, Lab 10, Splash Water Park and Pool, Case Kit, and the Helena Civic Center. Director Smith, you have.
Mayor Commissioners, we're finalizing some technical difficulties to get this up on our screens.
Answer a question that was earlier presented by Commissioner Logan. So I just say there's about $1.6 million in the affordable.
And Mayor, just a brief introduction. This is somewhat of an annual activity where we have certain city operations, and you've already listed them, that create revenue, obviously have expenditures, and require a certain subsidy on behalf of commission allocations and budget process.
Perfect timing, Mayor Commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. We have a brief overview for various divisions of the Parks Department, including the Civic Center, the golf course and munis, the swimming pool, and Case Kids today. And after I get through all the slides, of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions. First of all, here are the different funds we're going to be discussing today. Some of these numbers came directly from finance software. Some were from our software, particularly the golf operations, as they have their own independent software that's run by season and not fiscal year. So there may be some numbers that may look a little wonky that Director Danielson can answer if the questions come up. So here's our Civic Center fund breakdown, financial overview by year. And one of the things that we did, thanks to the software and finance, is you can take all these numbers and make it a visual. A graph showing trends that we're going to show for each of these operations. So as you'll see in the Civic Center operations, the blue line with the spike at the very top are expenditures. The green lines are revenues, and the red line are general fund contributions for this past year. So as you'll see, the Civic Center had a spike, just to explain that. Coming out of COVID, we had some pre-booked shows where the city was on the line for several tens of thousands of dollars for shows that were then put back on, and we took a hit that cycle that was out of anyone's control. So when you see that spike, that's directly related to coming out of COVID and honoring some shows with a different model where the city was more exposed to events as to the cross promotion that we do today. I'm getting to the golf course. You have the same rundown, the financial year overview, and then this is where you'll see the seasonal report coming out of golf software in-house. They have their own independent software. It's specific to food and beverage and tea times and things like that. If you reviewed this, you'll see a trend of positiveness of revenues from 2022 up to 2025. And munis is also a big part of the operation at the golf course. And here, munis and golf and maintenance, which is a large expense without producing revenues, are embedded into these trends. And what you'll see is an increase in expenses, an increase in revenue, and a decrease in general fund contribution. So those trends are going in directions that are beneficial to the city operations, and we're very proud of the work coming from the people in the golf business and the golf division and the food and beverage division and the service that we put on for the community. Swimming pool, huge community asset with huge community benefit, where you're going to see a trend that you'll see the expenses going up. We dug a little deeper into these increases, and it basically comes down to chemicals and energy costs. We've had a 10% increase in chlorine for the last 5 years. We went from $33,000 a year to $67,000 a year just for chlorine. And as we all know, energy costs are going up. We have old, inefficient boilers that are operating that pool to keep water at a certain temperature, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. with limited revenues, but the community benefit is huge. So as we look at these numbers as a business, there's some decisions that need to be made as it relates to fees and operations that'll be determined by the commission as we go through the budget process in January and February, presenting our new fees or potential fees. And we can have those discussions at that time. And then Case Kids. Case Kids is a wonderful program that we run and incorporate into Kate Paradin's job by running the pool and youth camps within the Memorial Park area. There is an anomaly of $34,000 loss here that I would like Director Danielson to chime in on, please, just to explain what that is.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. So when just first of all, this program is established to literally break even. So regardless of that last column, the budget, whatever the numbers come in, it gets funded by Case Kids. So in this particular case, I believe that the contribution was estimated too low to cover the costs. And one of the things that I had a conversation with Director Smith was that I believe, the personnel costs were overinflated for the budget. It's kind of tricky because most of the budget for that is temporary staff time and trying to evaluate the number of hours. So we're going to be looking at that again for the fiscal 27 budget, whether or not, to try to get that more in line with what's been actualized, and not cutting back the programming, but to budget at a level that they're actually using. And that can be real difficult with temporary staff and forecasting for hours. So regardless of the last budget you're seeing a deficit, I don't expect that will be a deficit. I expect that this program will break even.
All right. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions from the Mayor and Commission.
And Director Smith, couple of questions. I don't have quick access to the planned sustainability activities, but has solar for the pool, is that on the big matrix of possible projects down the road or no?
Well, that's a great question because it came up today and I'm looking for Director Leland because he has the numbers for the current solar field that just went into effect 2 weeks ago of what the returns were. So he's not here to answer what those are. I was just asked that question today. He's online. It was several $100 savings in like 14 or 17 days is the word that got to me. So looking at solar and the return on investment, that's definitely something to look at because the energy costs are very, very, very high to keep the pool at that time.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Leland on.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. Yes, we just pulled the data from the solar panel at Bill Roberts and also the fleet maintenance. And for about half a month, for a full month, you're going to see about $450 for the golf course, and then around $700 for fleet maintenance. The solar panels were at a little different angle, so you're getting to see a little better return on it from the fleet maintenance. So those are the two returns. So we could look at something at the pool. However, majority of the energy use at the pool is boiler, which would be gas, but we can offset some of the lighting and electrical costs too.
Thank you. And then, sorry, just one more question, if I might.
Mayor, I wanted to also address the second part of the question as far as the long-term sustainable energy programs for the city. So I know that Public Works do have a plan, and however, I will let you know that no funding in place for that now has either been through grants or through contributions through general fund savings. So there is no ongoing funding source for that, and so that they prioritize those projects each year and bring that to the commission for a discussion during the budget.
Yes, I apologize. I did not use all my words, but I remember seeing that big sheet that was used to recommend projects, and I just couldn't remember if the pool was on it. Thank you for the clarification. And then the second question, I had asked about pool usage rates and was told that we'll get that next year before the budget discussion. But generally speaking, during the summer season? Did we see increased use? I know we had higher rates. Like, how did that?
I don't have the numbers for year to year in front of me. We will have those in January and February during the budget fee discussions. I do recall it was slightly down. We had a much hotter, drier summer 2 summers ago, summer of 2024. Then we had a much cooler, more moist summer this year, and I believe the numbers were down a fraction, but I'm talking not a huge number, not like 10%. It was something like from 33,000 to 31 something thousand daily passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, so I have 2 questions. I'm interested to know if there's any information about this, and it doesn't need to be today, but I had heard a few years ago about when the pool being built, that it was built with geothermal piping capabilities, and I don't know if there's anyone with historical knowledge that knows anything about that or the schematics or something that I would be interested in. You know, I don't know if that was something that was discussed when it was being built and either happened or didn't, but curious to know if there's any validity in any of that.
So geothermal piping, I'll look into it and get back to you.
And I know the person who specifically was telling me about it, so I will reach out to them as well. But it was for this exact reason of when if energy costs ever got prohibitively expensive, is to have that as a backup. And it could have been something that was just discussed when it was being built and not included, but I would just be interested to see if the historical record shows anything around that.
Definitely look into it. Get back with you.
It could be one of those things that's old hell in the water, but I'd like to know either way. My second question was around with the golf course, we see increased growth every year. And I do know that, I mean, it's sometimes very difficult to get a tee time there unless you're planning ahead. It's very similar. And so I'm wondering if in January, February, when we start having some of these discussions, if we could have a little bit of information about if we're at the level of saturation that we can't take on any more growth in terms of tee times. Because I think that's something for us to just be thinking about over the next few years, because there's only only 18 holes and you can only have so many people at once. And so I'd just be interested to know, as we're going through some of this budget, if once we hit that level of, there's no other additional growth for tee times for folks playing.
Well, Commissioner, I'm glad you even mentioned that, because we've had these discussions already. Because if we recall the last 3 years, we've been tweaking different sections of the fee schedule to get it to where we feel it aligns with other municipal golf courses and operations that are similar. And there is a point where you're maxed out. But the business side of me comes back to say, if your supply and demand is you're full, maybe you need to charge a little more. And those discussions will be had at the appropriate time coming through the budget process.
And when we have that, can we include the simulator?
Absolutely. Because we upgraded the software. You can ask Director Danielson, it went in a little above budget. I've heard it many, many times. However, we have the newest software. All 3 are working for the first time in the 3 years I've been here. There's 3 simulators. Most people think there's 2. There's one in the back room, and they're all working for the first season. So we may just see a spike in some revenues there, and we can talk about that. And we'll know the supply and demand better with all 3 of them running for a season. We may not know it in January, February, but we'll have a good taste of it. This prolonged non-snow area left free golf beyond the course, so the simulators had a little down month, but they're really starting to ramp up right now, and we'll get that to you next time, Commissioner.
So it's is much more consistent than last year. So
Consistent. That's very kind of you to say it that way, Commissioner.
Do you have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
I am finished with this one, Mr. Mayor.
Establishing hours for selected parking lot and open land.
With your permission, we're going to pass this along to Brad Langseth, our open lands manager. Just to set this up, this is a request that have been coming from citizens, particularly the Reader's Village, after hours partying, breaking bottles, mufflers. We cooperated and worked with the legal department and Brett Petty and the police to come up with this proposal for our trailheads. And I'll let Manager Langseth speak.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. As we spoke to you earlier and at the listening session last year with the public, we've seen an increase in activities at the trailheads that are not tied to recreation. And some of this activity has resulted in damage to the facilities and complaints from the neighbors and some of the items that Director Smith mentioned. To be proactive and to work with our police department, we want to establish trailhead closure hours that do not interfere with recreation. So we tried to set them to where they're flexible with the summer hours. If you're up there late in the summer, you're definitely going to be off the mountain by 11 p.m. And we also want to accommodate our early morning runners and make sure that they can get up and get on the mountain. We're targeting that period of time where we see the problems occurring and trying to work with the residents and be proactive about managing these trailheads. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, as we mentioned before. Once this passed through into the park ordinance, then we would, of course, install signage letting people know what those hours are.
Please go ahead.
So what is the process? You'd mentioned a park and ordinance change or something to that effect. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, we'll be coming before the commission after the holidays to formally adopt the changes with the holidays and our posting requirements. We're going to be bringing this back for Monday night consideration under public hearings in January.
Thanks.
It would end up, Commissioner Logan, falling under the natural park ordinances for the hours of parking, operating an automotive vehicle at the trailhead.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Langseth, a question, and maybe you said it, I apologize. Are we talking about like gates? Like what, how do we acknowledge the closure? Is it a closure period? And if you're there between those hours, you get cited, or are we putting up gates?
Commissioner Reed, there will not be gates installed. We'll just have signage informing the public of the closure period so that if a resident calls in with a complaint that something's going on up there, when the police respond, if they're in a vehicle or operating a vehicle during that period of time, then there can be appropriate measures taken. We're not going to restrict people walking onto the open lands or coming to the open lands with a bicycle or accessing the open lands from any of the neighborhood trailheads. We're just specifying trailheads that have parking areas where we're seeing the problems.
A quick follow-up, I would, if possible, since we have some time, if we could consider some sort of like a pass system. There are a lot of runners who are out before 5 in the summer. And if there could be a way to throw something on your dashboard from the Parks Department that you have gotten that says running, I think that's something to consider. Because I do think it's going to be problematic for people who are used to being able to go drive up the archery range in their car and go for a long run to suddenly come back and find a ticket when that's never been a thing before. So I don't have a specific suggestion, but I think it's something to consider for regular trail users in summer who are out early.
Okay, thank you.
One more, please. So, when I'm assuming you got feedback from residents about the difficulties that they're seeing at trailheads. Did the 11 p.m. make sense to them?
Commissioner Logan, we basically fell upon the 11 p.m. looking at all the other time slots that other communities in the state were using, which are kind of all over the board. Most of the other communities in Montana just closed the parks, period. Like Missoula and Billings. Butte has a 1 a.m. time. We tried to look at something rather than going dawn to dusk because that was ambiguous. We felt using something that worked in the summer and tried to cover that slot of time where we think the problems are happening. And hopefully that will work. We think that it's that late night period where we're seeing most of the difficulty.
Okay, I'll just add that I've gotten a set of feedback, and a member of the public is here tonight that I've heard from in terms of sort of repeated patterns that they're seeing in behavior at one particular trailhead, and it causing a fair bit of difficulty for the neighborhood. And so I'm hopeful that this change will help alleviate their, the concerns that they have. So, thank you.
Go ahead.
Just one quick comment. I think when we get the final change language, if there's any way that I think we can address some of those, like the whole purpose is to stop loitering in the trailhead parking lots and causing issues that the neighbors are hearing at late hours. And so I think if we can just maybe make sure that we're clear in the intention in some of the statements, that it's not to prevent folks from, doing early morning hiking activities, or even when I was at Carroll, like once a year we would do a midnight hike. And it was part of, one of our groups. It was really lovely, and we weren't causing problems. We were just hiking. And so that's not what we're trying to discourage. We're trying to discourage people from partying in the parking lots and, disturbing the neighborhood. So I'm not sure what exactly that language could look like, but maybe just being able to have something in like the whereas clauses that explains that's the kind of behavior that we're addressing here.
Yes.
Mayor, Commissioner Dean, we actually already have some suggested language that is perfectly in line with what you're talking about for purpose and intent.
Do you have any public comments on this? Yes.
Mayor, Commission, Camrig, 21 Carriage Lane, Peters Village. I really appreciate this. It's a start. It's not a fix. The issues actually start at 7 p.m. every night. I can tell you exactly what truck, what car, what time they'll be coming out. It is an ongoing issue that is a big issue. I mean, I've tried, the police department has, courteously gone up there and checking things, but it hasn't deterred anything yet. When we do a present, it seems like it dies off a little bit, but the issue is loitering, as you said. I would love to this part of it to be added into signage up there. So at the other hours, if there is an issue at 7:30, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, we could call and the police department would have some, as you call it, some teeth in the situation other than just screwing them off. I mean, I'd hate to do it. I mean, I don't know if you know what type of things have been happening up there, but I literally had a person that was living with me at the time, an intern here in town, and he had his car demolished by one of the kids racing down, totaled his car, no insurance. Poor kid has hardly have any money, he couldn't afford another car. And the people that had a sawed-off shotgun they hid in somebody's window well because they knew they were in trouble. I mean, that was one of the 4 wrecks that year. So the thing is, people racing down your neighborhood every night, every single night, every single night, is getting very irritable to the citizens that live up there. And they want to put speed bumps. I do not want speed bumps. God forbid. That's an issue to me now. I just want some enforcement that can be continuously to a point where it'll maybe deter this. That's that's all. I mean, I met with everybody here that is a part of this over a year ago to start this and come up with a solution. And they've done a great job putting together the hour. I don't agree with 11 o'clock. I mean, but I understand the whole picture. I mean, they obviously know who's hiking and who's not. These kids come down in the lower parking lot. They park there. They flash their lights into the houses below them all night long, music, throw their litter, throw their garbage all the way through our neighborhood. Every night. I'm sure the city employees don't like picking it up every night or every day. The broken glass, people have their dogs. I mean, it's a little out of hand, and after the discussions, it's not just this area, it's the other ones too. And the police chief would love it because, you have a time and he can send a patrol out and he could scurry these people off or he writes a ticket. That's something they never had that tool. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's not gonna solve like the issue maybe at Readers. I don't know about how soon they show up at these other locations. I'm not there. I don't live there. But it's early. I mean, they show up at 4:30 in the afternoon. They sit there all day, which, half of them are good kids or good people, but there's a handful. I mean, they come down and they purposely rev their engines every night. I literally could tell you every night, oh, there goes the white truck. Because
Okay.
you know what I mean? I just want everybody to understand the picture. We're not just being annoying and complaining about a couple people. It's a nightly thing.
All right. Do you have any others? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Mayor, I've got my draft.
All right. Anything else? Just to address the commission. Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Okay. Now this meeting is adjourned.